The human history of the Americas is thought to begin with people migrating to these areas from Asia during the height of an ice age. These groups are generally believed to have been isolated from the people of the Old World until the coming of Europeans in the 1492 with the voyages of Christopher Columbus. The ancestors of today's American indigenous peoples were the Paleo-Indians. They were hunter-gatherers who migrated into North America. The most popular theory asserts that migrants came to the Americas via Beringia, the land mass now covered by the ocean waters of the Bering Strait. Small lithic stage peoples followed megafauna like bison, mammoth, now extinct, and caribou, thus gaining the modern nickname, big game hunters. Groups of people may also have traveled into North America on shelf or sheet ice along the northern Pacific coast. Sedentary societies developed primarily in two regions, Mesoamerica and the Andean civilizations. Mesoamerican cultures include Zapotec, Toltec, Olmec, Maya, Aztec, Mixtec, Totonac, Teotihuacan, Huastec people, Purépecha, Izapa and Mazatec. Andean cultures include Inca, Carol Soup, Wari, Tiwanaku, Chimar, Mochi, Muisca, Chavin, Paracas, and Nazca. After the voyages of Christopher Columbus in 1492, Spanish and later Portuguese, English, French and Dutch colonial expeditions arrived in the New World, conquering and settling the discovered lands, which led to a transformation of the cultural and physical landscape in the Americas. Spain colonized most of the Americas from present-day southwestern United States, Florida and the Caribbean to the southern tip of South America. Portugal settled in what is mostly present-day Brazil, while England established colonies on the eastern coast of the United States, as well as the North Pacific coast and in most of Canada. France settled in Quebec and other parts of eastern Canada and claimed an area in what is today the central United States. The Netherlands settled New Netherland, administrative center New Amsterdam, now New York, some Caribbean islands and parts of northern South America. European colonization of the Americas led to the rise of new cultures, civilizations and eventually states, which resulted from the fusion of Native American, European, and African traditions, peoples and institutions. The transformation of American cultures through colonization is evident in architecture, religion, gastronomy, the arts and particularly languages, the most widespread being Spanish, 376 million speakers, English, 348 million, and Portuguese, 201 million. The colonial period lasted approximately 3 centuries, from the early 16th to the early 19th centuries, when Brazil and the larger Hispanic American nations declared independence. The United States obtained independence from Great Britain much earlier, in 1776, while Canada formed a federal dominion in 1867 and received legal independence in 1931. Others remained attached to their European parent state until the end of the 19th century, such as Cuba and Puerto Rico, which were linked to Spain until 1898. Smaller territories such as Guyana obtained independence in the mid-20th century, while certain Caribbean islands and French Guiana remain part of a European power to this day. Pre-colonization main article, Pre-Columbian era further information, History of North America, History of the Caribbean, History of Central America, and History of South America migration into the continents further information, Peopling of the Americas and Genetic History of the Indigenous Peoples of the Americas map of early human migrations. The specifics of Paleo-Indian migration to and throughout the Americas, including the exact dates and routes traveled, are subject to ongoing research and discussion. The traditional theory has been that these early migrants moved into the Beringia land bridge between eastern Siberia and present-day Alaska around 40,000 to 17,000 years ago, when sea levels were significantly lowered due to the Quaternary glaciation. These people are believed to have followed herds of now extinct Pleistocene megafauna along ice-free corridors that stretched between the Laurentide and Cordilleran ice sheets. Another route proposed is that, either on foot or using primitive boats, they migrated down the Pacific Northwest coast to South America. Evidence of the latter would since have been covered by a sea level rise of 100 meters following the last ice age. Archaeologists contend that the Paleo-Indian migration out of Beringia, eastern Alaska, ranges from 40,000 to around 16,500 years ago. This time range is a hot source of debate. The few agreements achieved to date are the origin from Central Asia, with widespread habitation of the Americas during the end of the last glacial period, or more specifically what is known as the late glacial maximum, around 16,000 to 13,000 years before present. The American Journal of Human Genetics released an article in 2007 stating, "Here we show, by using 86 complete mitochondrial genomes, that all indigenous American haplogroups, including haplogroup X, mtDNA, were part of a single founding population." Amerindian groups in the Bering Strait region exhibit perhaps the strongest DNA or mitochondrial DNA relations to Siberian peoples. The genetic diversity of Amerindian indigenous groups increase with distance from the assumed entry point into the Americas. Certain genetic diversity patterns from west to east suggest, particularly in South America, that migration proceeded first down the west coast, and then proceeded eastward. Geneticists have variously estimated that peoples of Asia and the Americas were part of the same population from 42,000 to 21,000 years ago. New studies shed light on the founding population of indigenous Americans, suggesting that their ancestry traced to both East Asian and Western Eurasians who migrated to North America directly from Siberia. A 2013 study in the journal Nature reported that DNA found in the 24,000-year-old remains of a young boy in Maltha, Siberia suggests that up to one-third of the indigenous Americans may have ancestry that can be traced back to Western Eurasians, who may have had a more northeasterly distribution 24,000 years ago than commonly thought. 16. Professor Kelly Graff said that, "Our findings are significant at two levels. First, it shows that Upper Paleolithic Siberians came from a cosmopolitan population of early modern humans that spread out of Africa to Europe and Central and South Asia. Second, Paleo-Indian skeletons with phenotypic traits atypical of modern-day Native Americans can be explained as having a direct historical connection to Upper Paleolithic Siberia. A route through Beringia is seen as more likely than the Solutrean hypothesis." On 3 October 2014, the Oregon cave where the oldest DNA evidence of human habitation in North America was found was added to the National Register of Historic Places. The DNA, radiocarbon dated to 14,300 years ago, was found in fossilized human coprolites uncovered in the Paisley 5 Mile Point Caves in south-central Oregon. Lithic stage, before 8000 BCE, fishtail, point found in Belize. Stemmed fluted, fishtail, point found in Belize. See also, Paleo-Indians, Aboriginal peoples in Canada section Paleo-Indians period, and Archaeology of the Americas. The Lithic stage or Paleo-Indian period, is the earliest classification term referring to the first stage of human habitation in the Americas, covering the late Pleistocene epoch. The time period derives its name from the appearance of lithic flaked stone tools. Stone tools, particularly projectile points and scrapers, are the primary evidence of the earliest well-known human activity in the Americas. Lithic reduction stone tools are used by archaeologists and anthropologists to classify cultural periods. Archaic stage, 8000–1000 BCE. See also, Pre-Columbian era and Lithic period in Mesoamerica. Several thousand years after the first migrations, the first complex civilizations arose as hunter-gatherers settled into semi-agricultural communities. Identifiable sedentary settlements began to emerge in the so-called Middle Archaic period around 6000 BCE. Particular archaeological cultures can be identified and easily classified throughout the Archaic